Mr. Town Attorney, you ready? Madam Court Reporter, are you got a little recess there? Okay. All right. All right, the next speaker I have on for the hearing is Olga Hernandez. How you doing? If you give me name and good afternoon. If you give me name and address for the record, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olga Hernandez, bordering on Uniondale and Hempstead. First, I'd like to make a comment that I take umbrage to the fact that if you are all the way at the other end to the right, you have to walk over here. And if you were conscious, it takes longer for people to walk here than if you put microphones on each of these aisles. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, then you need to get microphone runners. Thank you for hearing that.
Okay.
Second, judging from these maps, I don't know where I would be represented since Uniondale is broken in 3 parts. I live in the village of Hempstead in the Uniondale School District. Where would I fall on this map?
If you're in the village of Hempstead, you are in Deputy Supervisor Goosby's district. If you are in the unincorporated areas of Uniondale, almost all of Uniondale, approximately 30,000 people, is in Deputy Supervisor Goosby's district, the first. Just north of Hempstead Turnpike, 3 election districts, approximately 3,000 people, because of population deviations, which we want to make sure that under the Voting Rights Act and under the new John Lewis law that's going into effect, we can only deviate by less than 5 or less %, and our numbers for this map are very, very good. Those 3 election districts are in Councilperson Muscarella's district, the 2nd district at this time.
Well, I know you're going through this map only by voters, but the residents are way more than what you are taking into account. The other thing I want you to know is that everybody says about talking truth to power, and I think most of our elected officials neglect to understand that we are the power, and you need to speak the truth. Transparency is not something that you pick and choose to give. We definitely feel that this map is unfair, but you already know that. But if you kept one community whole at its request, why didn't you keep Uniondale whole at its request? It has the same amounts, if not more, people. And the other thing, I'm glad to see that I don't see East Garden City on here, but the possibility with this remapping is not to be crossed out. So please understand, you have us divided already by just saying if you speak here, you can't speak on the 14th at 7 p.m. The reason why this place isn't packed is because people have to work to support their families. And to say that we can't speak again is ridiculous, because we have freedom of speech, and I know things are done in an orderly fashion. But even if you cut down the people that spoke here that you have a list of, then cut them down to 1.5 minutes and not 3. But the people that are in here today have the right to hear what we here are saying right now. Now, this is a lynching without the rope.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Next, I have Michael Torrey. How you doing? Good afternoon. If you give me your name and address for the record.
Yes, Michael Torrey, 23 Indiana Avenue, Long Beach. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, Town Board members, and Mr. Attorney. I noticed that first I want to say it's freezing in here every time I come in here, and I very much wish that this dais could be returned. The pandemic, apparently is ending. I would wish this dais could be returned to the front as it used to be years ago, because I like to look people in the eye when I speak to them. That being said, I noticed that you have added the 14th of February at 7 p.m. as a continued hearing. I consider it an abridgment of my First Amendment rights to be told I am not able to speak at a public meeting, regardless of whether you consider it continued or not. Any reason why this was done on February 14th, Valentine's Day, when it might be fair to say that people with a heart might be busy? Please pause my time. Please pause my time. I can't see the thing from here.
It says 204, 202. Here you go.
What? I'm sorry, what did you say?
You asked me your time. I just told you it was 2 minutes.
I asked you to pause it, not what it was.
Is there any reason you had to have it paused?
Please restore it to what it was.
No. Is there a reason it had to be paused?
I asked you about February 14th.
That's the night of the continuation of the hearing.
Okay, there was a Monday meeting on January 3rd. There was no problem calling another meeting at that time when it wasn't Valentine's Day, when it might be that people could come. I'll say that I applaud that you guys put up a banner ad on your website as well as sent an email. Can the public expect that the banner ad will stay up with the revised 2/14 at 7 p.m. meeting dates, and another email will be sent? Pause my time.
Well, please don't tell people what to do, and of course we'll take it under.
Don't tell me what to do, Mr. Clavin.
Mr.
Clavin,
Torrey,
you work for the people. Don't tell me what to do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Torrey.
I'm sorry?
Thank you. We took it under advisement.
Okay, then. So will there be any other emails? At the last meeting, that question was answered. But let me just go to the maps here. So who is this quote attributed to? Why was this piece of paper not made available with the other materials online so that you had to come here to get this? Do you expect people have time to read this in advance of speaking to you? Crickets. Okay, so as the redistricting process has advanced, the Hempstead Board has acutely focused on creating districts that are fair. Not true. And they are not in compliance with all applicable federal and state laws. On this very sheet alone, on page 5, the Federal Voting Rights Act on page 5, Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act says, thus, Section 2 of the VRA prohibits states or their political subdivisions from imposing or applying any voting qualification, standard practice, or procedure that results in a denial or abridgment of the right. Under this section, a court can invalidate district lines if a minority group demonstrates, based on the totality of circumstances, that a state's political processes are not equally open to participation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You also failed to follow the ordinality of the municipal rule law.
Mr. Torrey, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. Next, we have a number.
Mr. Clavin, you don't appreciate it. You don't act like you appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Torrey. Mr. Torrey, you don't have to yell. You don't have to raise your voice. It's okay. Next, I'm going to call up Pearl Jacob. Hi, Ms. Jacobs. If you can give your name and address for the record. Good afternoon.
There you go. Just like that. Okay. Pearl Jacobs, Uniondale. The vast majority of Uniondale, as reflected on the latest proposed map, encompasses Uniondale's residential community, south of Hempstead Turnpike, and separates Uniondale's industrial and commercial businesses, which will adversely affect Uniondale's tax revenue. This map depicts socioeconomic racism. 2020 census found that 47% of the town consists of people of color. There is only one majority-minority district representing just 16% of town residents. We need more representatives that reflect the diversity of the town. And was it your intent to create a majority-minority district? No answer? Okay. Crickets again. Again, I'm going to quote from the write-up you have on District 3. And in addition to uniting the 5 towns, the board's proposed plan does not split Woodmere, which members of the communities testified should be kept whole. So over and over again, people came before you, before this council and requested that their communities remain whole. I know, especially with Uniondale, we were here all the time requesting that our communities remain whole. How do you listen to people from Woodmere and other zip codes and not listen to Uniondale? That is just plain racism. Since you're not answering my question, just not answering me is discriminatory. You were elected to represent all of your constituents, not just appointed, not just choice zip codes. You were appointed to represent and speak to all your representatives. Councilwoman Goolsbee, how do you feel about this new proposed map for Uniondale? You can't speak on it? Why can't you speak on it? It affects your residents.
The deputy supervisor of the town indicated she's listening to Mr. Jacobs.
I'm listening to you.
And you can't comment. So I would also throw in here that it's taxation without representation. Every time I write a check to pay my taxes, it really pisses me off because I get no representation. And like I said, this is socioeconomic racism to the core, discrimination, disenfranchisement, blatant discrimination. And we will fight it. And I really hope that this goes to the courts. I'm sorry that our taxpayers, we would have to pay for that, but I really hope it goes to the courts so they can shed a light nationwide on the racism
Thank you, Ms.
that
Jacobs.
occurs in Nassau County and the
Thank
town
you
of
so much. We appreciate it. I don't have any other slips from anybody else to speak on item number 11. Is there anybody that did not sign in that has not spoken before that absolutely that would like to be heard? Please come on back to the mic there. Thank you. Good afternoon. If you give your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, James B. Jacobs, 568 Ashcroft, Uniondale. I did put in a slip to speak, but I guess like I did put a slip in. I guess possibly being the way I was overlooked, but it's okay. My concern is, as a Uniondale resident of 30 years, I know the decision is going to be made about these maps and everything else. And I noticed that, like my wife said so eloquently, but in her own terms, that the commercial part of Uniondale, which is be represented by Mr. Mazzarella, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, it'll be under his jurisdiction. But I noticed that Goolsbee had this, well, just a quick history lesson. I noticed when Goolsbee had to sue to be on this because the fight still continued and the struggle is real. Is it a mere fact that the commercial part of Uniondale, which is our corporate neighbor, will not be helping us as those south of Hempstead Turnpike. But I noticed that the thing that they've been pushing, which is probably at another meeting for the casino, is part of Goolsbee district, which I don't think is fair, but that's another story for another time. My concern is that, no, what it is that if this casino thing, I'm going to sidetrack for a second, just to make a quick point. If this casino thing happening goes sideways and south, it's going to be a blemish against her. And she fought too hard and too long to get where she's at. And even though she's deputy supervisor, there's probably more than just one Goolsbee up there, because by demographic and population, it's supposed to be two. And I have nothing against Mr. Relative. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. He seemed like a decent man. But I just hope the part of Uniondale that he have, that when corporate developers come here and want to rename it East Garden City, because that's where everybody knows it's going to happen, that he will fight for us. Because I pray that when you do have this vote, and I know you're going to yield to the county also, that everything become public record. So when you run a re-election, when they say national supervisor represent all of us in our interest, let that be the truism instead of a falsehood. And that's my particular concern. Because the town attorney stated, from my understanding, that everything become part of public record. And as a resident over 30 years, I want to make sure that when you have your vote, even in secret, whatever how the vote is cast for these maps, that everybody know how you voted and why. Because I think it's so unfair that put everything under Goolsbee jurisdiction when it's supposed to be two versus the one. Because that's not fair to her, that's not fair to us. Because that dilutes my vote, that dilutes my tax dollars for as a resident, and paying these town taxes and everything else. And that's what I just want fairness. You ain't got to love me, but damn, I want you to respect me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacob. I don't have it. Did you already testify? But okay. Great. Good afternoon. If you just give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, hi again. Heidi Saff, Nostrand Garden Civic Association, Uniondale. I have a question. The discussions, the descriptions of each district under the board's proposed redistricting plan, because I'm a person who likes facts, because the bottom line is the reality. It's, not lies, it's not embellishment, it's not making up stories, which, as we all know, in Washington, D.C., one of our congressmen is really good at that. So let's stick to the facts. Okay, it says here, I'm quoting, it says, as discussed above, the board's plan accommodates public request to keep Uniondale whole as much as practicable by only placing the remaining small portion of the community in District 2. My question is, what is in this remaining small portion? Can the lawyer tell me what's in this remaining small portion that you're proposing go into District 2?
3 election districts north of Hempstead Turnpike, but excluding the large area around the Coliseum. And if you were at the other hearings, you know that, especially at the last 2 hearings, that a number of people indicated that they wanted that to be in District 1. Didn't have much of a population, so in order to reflect the comments of the people who came to the hearings, the map maker decided that that was a right move to make.
Okay, so this remaining small portion, that you're taking away, does that include the Nassau hub?
The hub is around the Coliseum.
Yeah, I know, but
that's in Deputy Supervisor's Goosby's district at this point. With
the entire Nassau hub, you're saying, is in.
I think that they're.
I'm trying to get the facts.
The facts are is a significant portion. I don't have the meets and bounds description in front of me right now, but a majority of it is, if not all of it is.
Yeah, you see, if you say the majority, if not all, in all honesty and respectfully, you're not, you're being vague. So that's what I'm just trying to get down to knowing this area you're taking away. So
well, it's a question that you'll have an answer for at the next meeting on the 14th.
Okay, so then you don't know the answer to the question. Because I just want to say, that entire area, including, the area where the Marriott is, the area, where the hub is, the area where their casino is, and if the truth be told, and I'm sorry if you don't want to hear this.
The truth be told,
excuse me. If the truth be told, the museum hub also is in Uniondale. That's part of Mitchell Field. So we really would like you to do the right thing and keep Uniondale whole. There's been a big fight about this for many, many years. And, it's a long time coming that you do the right thing. So what I would like to say is, we have to be honest, we have to be straightforward, you have to give the facts, because we have too much dishonesty in government now, and, the people are losing their trust completely when you have a fraud representing a good part of Nassau County. As you all agree, I heard you speak about it, Supervisor Clavin, in the press conference. Got to be very careful not to repeat that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any other slips of anybody who's not testified and you'd like to be heard. If you come on up to the mic. I was actually signifying to him to come on up. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. If you give me name and address for the record. Thank you. Oh, hold on. I couldn't hear it. Sorry.
David Thomas, Uniondale.
Hi.
I wasn't given an opportunity to express all I felt the last time,
But Mr. Thomas, did you testify before on this?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, everybody gets 3 minutes. That's what I said. Anybody who hasn't testified before. So respectfully, is there anybody? You've been allowed the 3 minutes. Is there anybody else who didn't testify that did not sign that wants to be heard?
And I was told that I can come up again,
No, Mr. Thomas, I don't know who told you that, but it's just not the case.
but I have a question.
No, Mr. Thomas, like I said, we've allotted everybody the 3 minutes, and we have to be in compliance. So like I said, I don't know who would misinform you of that. That's just not the case.
So we must be contented
so
for
with
you
that,
taking away our
is
tax
there
base?
anybody else that did not testify?
We'd be contented for you taking away our
No,
tax
Mr. Thomas, nobody is. Is there anybody else that did not sign in that would like to testify that hasn't testified previously? Great. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, respectfully, you had your opportunity. Thank you very much. If not, man, please have a motion.
I move.
Oh, hold on. Is it on? Here you go.
I move the motion, I move the public hearing be continued to February 14, 2023 at 7 p.m. here in the Bennett Pavilion of Hempstead Town.
Second that motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
On the decision calendar, resolution classifying the application of PGD Baldwin Commons LLC, care of Park Grove Development LLC, as an unlisted action, declaring lead agency and issuing a negative declaration under SEQA.
Okay. Do I have a motion for item number 12 on the calendar?
I will, before I make the motion, I just want to say this is the second project of the DRI initiative that has come before this town board. And right when the application was ready, we sat down with the developers and we moved the process along as fast as we could. And I'm proud to say that I move that we adopt the item.
Good for you.
I second the motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item on the decision calendar.
The next decision is the application of PGD Baldwin Commons LLC, care of Park Grove Development LLC, in the Baldwin Mixed-Use Zoning Overlay District.
I move the item be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, great.
That's
Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
We have,
I move this.
Now, Mrs. Mataba, you've come in here a number of times. That was on the decision calendar. We already had the hearing on it. That was a decision calendar. We already approved it. You might not remember. You might have come to the hearing. We did. I think we did the hearing like 3 weeks ago. But that was on the decision calendar. The hearing had been closed for a number of weeks. Next, I didn't. Next, may I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move the administrative calendar 14 through 71.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? I know.
second.
Okay. On that, I have a number of speakers on the administrative calendar. We'll start with Emil Varanen. Good afternoon. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
The weather's really good outside. I have a couple questions on a couple resolutions. I think the IT department will need to be here. So I have a question on 37, 38, 41, 48. So starting with 37, as I understand it, the original contract was for $260,000 a year for office, and now it's going to $320,000. I was wondering what's the big increase?
Okay, let me see if my Commissioner of IT is here right now. Artie? Jack?
Supervisor, I had allowed some of the commissioners later because we had the...
Okay, so why don't we, you want to give it like a 5-minute adjournment until he gets back, or what do you think, Jack?
I believe this item is on what they call a break and fix contract.
If you can go up to the mic, Mr. Sorry.
Controller this one. I believe this item on...
There you go, try it on there.
I believe this item is on a break and fix, what they call a break and fix contract, which means they have an outside consultant who comes in when we have certain software.
there's the commissioner.
Artie Prim. Artie, come on up there and, I know. This gentleman had a couple of questions on, I think it was 37, 38, 39. If you just identify yourself, and then.
Artie Prim, Commissioner of Information and Technology.
Yeah, they like you.
The question is that the original contract was for $260,000, and now the cost is going to $320,000. Could you just explain the increase?
Yeah, that's not going to 320. It's not to exceed $320,000.
Okay.
The problem is, as we grow, more users are, coming into the town, and we have to, it's $206 a license, or $207 a license. So we get 40 licenses, the number goes up. So that's.
Wait, but the licenses are for Office software, though. Like
It's for Office 365.
Right, for Office 365. But I'm confused. So is Office charging you per person you're printing the license for?
Microsoft is charging per person, yes.
Okay. And aren't the employees the one that are using that?
Yes.
Okay. So you're growing the amount of employees that are using it, basically.
Yes.
And is there any alternative software that you could use, or is Office the only one that you could use? Because it does include the whole Office suite. You might not use all the apps, or maybe that's what's bundled in.
Yeah, we're not taking the G5 product. We're taking the G3 product, which is cheaper than the G5.
Okay.
So we're not going all out. We're trying to limit as much as we can.
Okay. Going on to 38, so this will be for your expertise again. So this is old hardware being depreciated. I mean, this is a minor thing, but when I go to school districts meetings, so like in Hewlett-Woodmere or even Lawrence, when I used to go to those, they used to list what computers were being depreciated. So I see under this resolution there's a schedule for that, but we can't see what schedule that is. Is there any reason why it's not on the website?
I can't tell you that. I thought it was on the website. I have a list of it here I can show you, and I can put it on the website.
Okay.
After this meeting.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I mean,
Yep, I'll put it.
But I think in the future though, it should be on the website. Just a minor thing. I have no problem with that.
Not a problem.
Resolution 41 concerns advertising via the radio. So there are 4 zeros before the comma. So is that 30,000 or 300,000? Is that a typo?
No, good. Mr. Identify yourself, Mr. Blower.
I'm Greg Blower, Director of Communications. It's 30,000.
Okay, got it. Wait, hold on. Just, is there a reason why we're using the radio to advertise? Is that the most efficient way?
Well, it's one of the ways. We use radio, we use mail, we use any media we can to get the messages out.
Okay, and what kind of messages are these?
Well, we use them for the CARES Act, we use them for Narcan, we use it for senior ID programs. It's all public information service.
Okay, got it. And Resolution 48 concerns the hiring of consultants. So I have no issue with the consulting firm. I'm just curious, what projects would they be used for?
Commissioner, if you could identify yourself, thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor. Gerald Marino, Commissioner, Department of General Services. Walden Environmental Engineers is a firm that we use for environmental reasons, asbestos removal, air monitoring in certain situations, fuel tanks that are underground, things of that nature.
Okay, but are there any specific projects, that, they use for? Is this on a daily basis?
Well, this is a resolution where we're asking the town board to increase the available funds in the event that we need them. So there are no set projects, but these are things that would come from time to time that are town-wide. If there's an asbestos issue, which could happen anywhere at any time, we would need the funds available so they can come that day and not have to wait for the next meeting.
Okay.
It's just available funds. It's not anything that's used, and we didn't ask the taxpayers for it yet. It's just the town board is allowing us to increase the funds.
But isn't this unbudgeted? Shouldn't this be budgeted though? Set towards the budget? Is this unbudgeted?
When we do asbestos removal, air monitoring, that's budgeted. Those have dollar figures that come on the budget every year. But to hire an engineer, you don't know how many times you would use them, so it's not, it's also, there is a line item for each item that they do. For each expert that comes, they have many engineers there, and everyone has their own specific hourly or job rate.
Okay, got him. I appreciate all the commissioners coming up for their answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I got Felix Furcacci. Ooh, careful. Good afternoon, Mr. Furcacci. If you give your name and address for the record.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. On items 28 through 31, the hiring, continued hiring of freelance photographers, we don't need this. In your village of Garden City, when there's an event or something, the village clerk, the village administrator pulls out their phone, takes a picture, somebody gets promoted, someone's retiring. We don't need to have professional photographers just so you could advertise for free on the taxpayer's dime. On item number 37, does the town clerk's office have access to the Office 365 licenses?
Already, would the answer to that be yes? Yes.
Okay, so now I could recommend, I've been asking for many years, why don't you type up the details of the town resolutions using Office 365, export it to Word, so you could stop wasting time OCRing it and scanning this stuff in. It looks like garbage, the details. Just type it into a word processor. The technology's been around for over 30 years. I don't know why you do it with a typewriter, but that's what it looks like you're doing. Also, on item number 41, the proposal, was this proposal posted on the town's website? 41 and 42, were these agreements posted on the town's website? Because I couldn't find them.
Eric Blower again, Director of Communications. They should have been on there. If not, we can get them to you.
The details? Because I looked several times, I couldn't see them. Because even like from the last meeting, there were three resolutions where the details, and the town attorney said he was going to get them to me. I sent them an email after a few days and asked him for it, and he still didn't get them to me, and then I foiled them. And that's unnecessary because by law, they should be up there 24 hours prior to the meeting. Yeah. Otherwise, you're in violation. So
that's correct. They should have been up there. We can get them to you.
Okay. I mean, look, I don't want to litigate anything, but the thing is, if you keep on violating the law, there's really no choice for residents. Thank you. Just please do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Furcacci. Ms. Maraday? No? Okay. All right. Next I have Michael Torrey. No? Okay. Okay, you too. Have a great one. Next, I don't have any other slips on the administrative calendar. Does anybody want to be heard that hasn't signed in? If not, may I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move the administration calendar in its entirety.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Supervisor Clavin?
I will move the administrative calendar with the exception of item number 47, which I will recuse myself.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn, if I can get it from anybody.
We adjourn.
Can I get a second on that?
Somebody second. Stop talking.
Supervisor Clavin?
Aye.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Now that the formal town board meeting has been adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to the comments of residents. I have a couple of residents who have signed in here. We could start off with Mr. Vereen. Come here.
Emil Verani, Valley Stream. I just wanted to address the recent mailer that went out about Governor Hochul's plan to address affordable housing. And I specifically want to go through your petition. I want to say I think we should work with our elected officials to achieve a better quality of life, but I don't think this is the way to do so. And I just want to go through the petition. So, you have a smokestack or a factory or whatever picture that is. Nowhere in the governor's plan was that mentioned. And you also mentioned in the petition that it does not plan to upgrade infrastructure, but she has proposed $250 million for infrastructure upgrades and improvements to support local housing growth and development, and $20 million for planning and technical assistance to support local rezoning efforts and other solutions to drive growth. But Mr. Supervisor, what I found most hilarious about this petition is the opposition to transit-oriented development. And what you fail to tell people is that you associate with the same politicians who support overdevelopment. You and Councilwoman Miller walked into the 5 towns and said, we will keep this the crown jewel of Long Island. But back in 2019, Councilman Bruce Blakeman, right here by the Lawrence train station, proposed rezoning the area behind it. And not only that, but your friend Jack Martins championed transit-oriented development on his law practice's website, where he brags about easily building hundreds of apartment buildings in Mineola. And lastly, another example of you supporting an overdevelopment politician was your sister, Village Trustee Virginia Higgins, and Mayor Fair, who stood with you at the press conference. People like you, your sister, and the mayor who built so-called affordable housing and transit-oriented development put it right in our backyard. And when people stood up against people like your sister and the mayor, they turned around and then just approved the projects anyway. So, Supervisor Clavin, I want to ask you this. Is this the kind of development that you want to build in our backyard right here? Is this what you want to build? Because you said in the petition you're opposed to this kind of development, and yet this is what Valley Streamers have been having to deal with. And you say nothing about this, but when Hochul does it, you're going all crazy about it. So I hope that you'll take a stand against overdevelopment, whether it's Democrat or Republican, in any instance, whether it be a village or a town, because that's what our community cares about, is making sure that we don't have overdevelopment, regardless of what party or what municipality is doing that. And I hope that that will be accounted for in this effort that you have against the governor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for supporting the local districting. As everybody knows in the audience, the governor's proposal that you didn't talk to anybody about would create thousands of units. And I know you threw out the number $250 million. It was funny. Last week I was with Ed Romaine out in Suffolk County, and Ed Romaine was pointing out that $250 million probably wouldn't even fund the sewers just for Brookhaven if this housing went through. So we have a lot of concerns, and I'm glad that people are concerned. And I'm, you know what, I can't speak for Missy and I and legislation that occurred prior to us, but you know what, we appreciate the input. Next I have Jonathan Defense. Okay. Next I have Felix Percacci. Hello again, and if you give your name and address.
Felix Percacci. It is important that government officials provide accurate and comprehensive information to the constituents. Recently, our governor proposed a strategy for addressing the housing shortage in New York. In response to this proposal, Supervisor Clavin started an online petition opposing it. The petition says Governor Kathy Hochul announced a proposal to create high-density housing zones around every Long Island train station while also stripping local towns and villages and thereby the residents of their ability to control local zoning. And while the proposal speaks to creating high-density housing, it does not address upgrading the existing infrastructure to accommodate the population increase. In the governor's proposal on her webpage, it says in pertinent parts, under the compact, localities will decide how to best meet their new home construction targets. The New York Housing Compact will make available a $250 million infrastructure fund and a $20 million planning fund to support new housing production statewide. And localities that do not meet targets can achieve safe harbor status for one 3-year cycle by implementing certain good faith actions or preferred actions that create zoning capacity to achieve growth targets. And municipalities that fall short of these targets can still take good faith preferred actions to spur development for another 3-year cycle in which the fast track approval process will not apply. In municipalities where there is no market demand for new housing, there will be no practical effect if localities fall short of their targets. And the state will continue to exercise crucial safeguards and prevent environmental harm and ensure that public health remains a top priority. It is always a good idea to be skeptical about what any politician says, whether you agree with them or not. Instead of addressing the governor's proposal point by point, Clavin chooses to intentionally mislead people. It would be very easy for Clavin to provide a link to the governor's proposal in his petition so residents can make up their minds based on the actual text of the governor's proposal and address each aspect of the governor's proposal. But instead, Clavin provides a cartoon-like picture showing a chimney belching black smoke behind a single-family house surrounded by apartment buildings. Clearly, this is not the governor's intent, although Clavin would like residents to believe this. Once again, Clavin is using government funds to mislead residents for his own political gain. Clavin often forgets that his job is town supervisor, not chief propaganda minister. Residents should go to the governor's webpage and read the governor's proposal to get the facts, and based on these facts, decide whether they support all, part, or none of the governor's initiative. Clavin and his petition is a joke and should not be taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci. Always a pleasure. Greg Stenalis? If you give me, good afternoon. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
It's Gregory K. Stanislaus, pastor of the St. John Baptist Church in Inwood, Long Island, on the corner of 4 Henry Street and Bayview. About a quarter of a mile from the church, where most of the membership actually goes for support and help in the community, is the Five Towns Community Center. And just recently, we had a town hall meeting in the church with the community to discuss the issue that the lease is up in June of 2024, and we're concerned that it will not be renewed. Now, RFP was put out in January, just early this month, January 3rd, with a $5 million stipulation to it. Anyone sending forth a proposal had to come to the table with $5 million. Now, the narrative that's out there is that this group that has the lease now is not doing their job or being responsible, which nothing could be further from the truth. The truth of the problem is that the county was responsible for the upkeep of the building all these years, but no upkeep was done. And so you have the roof leaking, you have the heat problem, you have all these things, the buildings falling down. But the lease, their job was to simply maintain the grants, maintain the service to the community, and that's what they did. There's a stipulation in the lease saying that they cannot raise funds, and so they weren't able to raise funds. This is a place that's been in existence since for 116 years, and so now it's time to renew the lease, but without the $5 million, they're pretty much taken out of the running, so to speak. Now, it's almost like telling someone, if I use a metaphor, we want you to make bricks, but we will not give you the straw to make it, so go out and find it. So without the resources, how can they do? And so if you can't do, then we're going to punish you for not doing. So here it comes, we have people are up in arms. Why? Because 80% of the community is benefiting from the Five Towns Community Center all of these years. The concern is that the people who are walking through the community center now are those, well, just a couple of us, the JCC, we know that they are capable of the community chest, and also the Lawrence School Board is interested in getting the property. In addition to that, you have a private developer. Our concern is simply this: with these people taking over, if indeed they do, if the lease is not extended or renewed, then what is the guarantee that people in the community, 80% of the people in the community, will be served as they have been served? These are probably the most vulnerable people. And so I'm really concerned about that, but there's no way to have an audience with Blakeman, which is not totally his fault. The last administration also didn't take care of the business of it. So the concern is, where do we go from here? Do we hire the attorney? Do we have what's called an Inwood sit-in? Whatever we need to do, but the voices need to be heard, and this can't continue. It's the taking of the property. Where are the people supposed to go?
Now, I'm correct, I think the Five Towns Community Center is a county-run, so I guess they did the RFP. Again, I would urge you to meet with the county executive or your local legislator in the area.
But aren't you over Inwood? Somebody?
No, yeah, but that's a Nassau County facility. We have no control over it. We had nothing to do with an RFP in the whole facility. It isn't our venue. It isn't our control. You have to
Okay.
go to the county.
It makes sense. Well, I'm going to ask if you could do something because no one takes my call. Maybe you know Blakeman. Maybe you can call him and tell him to look into the situation because we want to keep it peaceful.
I'll be happy to relay a message to the county executive.
I
And
can let you know that I have reached out. I have voiced my concerns to the county executive, and that he has also stipulated that the RFP, which is public, they can view it, lists exactly the protections that he feels are in place to anybody interested in coming into that property, which include keeping the Head Start, all the services, the youth services that are currently there would need to continue there. So it isn't that he's, looking to bring somebody in to boot everybody out. But again, as the supervisor said, unfortunately, we have nothing to do with that lease. We have nothing to do with the renewal of that lease. We can merely, and I always do, advocate for the good that that community center does in that community.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you very much. Elise Thomas? Hi, Ms. Thomas. Good afternoon. If you give your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Eloise Thomas. In July of 2007, I actually spoke at the town hall in relationship to the Five Towns Community Center, and I have my speech that I had prepared then, so I'm going to kind of redact it and speak from it. So July 10, 2023 will be 116 years of commitment to provide vital service for all residents of the Five Towns and areas beyond its border. As a resident of Inwood and as a shareholder of the community center, I'm here to make one simple request: vote no on the RFP. I do not allow any notion that will allow Nassau County Bruce Blakeman to list the Five Towns Community Center building and its property for sale to a third-party entity. Return the building and its property to the ownership of the Board of Trustees and its community. The services that this institution continues to provide to its residents cannot be measured in dollars and cents. This is a way of life. It is a stepping stone in many individuals as well as their family and personal, professional, and social lives for a generation. For me, this organization was a bridge to the cultural diversity I faced when I immigrated to the United States of America more than 40 years ago. The community center is the air. It is necessary for the survival of its many residents who utilize the services and continue to do so. Finally, I ask you to remember the future. Just as Margaret Olivia Sage, the wife of Russell Sage, who donated the land and the money and the original building at the request of Sylvia Lord, the individual who had the vision to request of Ms. Sage this gift to our community more than 116 years ago. For remembering us today, let our children remember, be thankful to us today for remembering them in 2021-07. Please stop the RFP. This was a gift to our community. It is vital for our survival. We can reimagine our future coming out of a pandemic. Margaret Sage donated this building prior to the Depression.
We have a time. Once again, as I said to the past before, the RFP is being done by Nassau County. We're not have anything to do with it. I don't know who the legislators are down there, but I would definitely say you need to reach out to the legislators. I am going to follow up and do a communication out to the county executive to ask them to meet with you so you could express your concerns to them. But again, we don't have anything to do with the RFP. I don't know anything about what the RFP is, but I'm happy to try and facilitate something for you with the county executive. We appreciate you coming down. In fact, I'll tell you right now, Carol, are you going to? The deputy supervisor is going to have a staff member to get you relevant information so we can follow up with it. Fair enough?
Fair.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Next I have Pearl Jacob. Good afternoon. If you can name an address for the record, thanks.
Pearl Jacobs, underserved Uniondale. Okay, so I did receive an email from one of my residents, and she says, Pearl, I'm out of the country, so I won't be able to attend the meeting, but I have an issue. I'm sure you have seen all the Optimum vehicles with mostly Jersey plates putting wiring all over the place. I was informed on January 26th by the guy coming to mark my gas meter and pipes that they are Optimum. They're going to be laying cables in the street. Why would the town of Hempstead wait 40-plus years to finally repave Compass Street and surrounding neighborhoods? Now, less than a year later, they're allowed to dig them up. Are they going to repave it again immediately after you get the idea? So I'm going to hold this and maybe speak with somebody who's... Please stop my clock.
Ms. Jacobs, you get 3 minutes. We'll be happy to take the letter and reach out to the constituent. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just bringing that to your attention. Is there anyone I could speak with here today?
At the end of the meeting, we're going to take that address from you right when you're all done.
Okay, so regarding environmental issues, I know with this casino coming proposed, the town of Hempstead is responsible for zoning, and they're responsible for taking care of environmental reports and issues. I do want to speak about environmental issues that are affecting Uniondale, primarily our water. So you're going to have a lot of environmental issues to deal with, especially Uniondale. You're considering putting a casino there, and our water is tainted. January 30th, my water was this color, copper red, like red-brown, okay? I called the contact in the town of Hempstead. He was very responsive. He took care of, he had someone send it out, and they opened my meters. The fire hydrant. It was flushed for over an hour until it started running clear. I received a call this morning from a resident, and he's still having issues with his water. In fact, he actually took his water, and he's having a private company analyze the water. And he also called me, and he's recovering from kidney cancer, and he just told me that his neighbor next door was just diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I'm just letting you know, putting on record, that we have a really, really concerning water issue in Uniondale. So you need to put that number one on your environmental review, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot to follow. And to consider to put a casino in Uniondale when we can't even get clean water, it's going to put another burden on our environment. You need to rethink that, but I will definitely be bringing you back issues that we are experiencing in Uniondale. And I have copies if you want them, one for Councilwoman Gooseby and one for you, Supervisor Clavin. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Ms. Jacobs. James Jacob? Hey, Mr. Jacobs, if you give your name and address for the record, thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor, Mr. Clavin. But for the record, Mr. Clavin, there's more than one James Jacobs in Uniondale. That's why I use the middle initial B, but since you want to call me James Jacobs, that's what I was talking about respect. But it's okay.
Mr. Jacobs,
it's okay, sir.
It says okay. James Jacob. I'm only reading what it says.
She's supposed to put the B there, but do you want to blame somebody else? It's all good.
Okay.
All right.
Like I said, I'm just reading what it says there.
It's okay.
No, we're all good.
It's okay.
Okay.
I just want to have a little conversation with the town attorney. Do you know when you're going to have to vote for the casino? Because I was at, I think, a Hofstra, and they explained everything falls onto the town for the decisions of environmental impact, who's going to approve it. And I would love to know if that's going to become part I would love to know if they're going to become part of public record. Because this way, when I go to vote next year in November or this year in November, I don't know who's for me and who's against me for my quality of life and how much taxes I pay living in Uniondale. Because the presentation was excellent. They had excellent people there. They had a lot of union people there saying, build it, which is okay. But see, most of the people that want to have built don't live here. They don't have to deal with the traffic here. They don't have to deal with the noise from pollution, like with the service station person. I hope they do come, that they be good environmental neighbors. But saying that, sir, hopefully that when they do the assessment, because they say everything falls into the town, a deputy supervisor also, and being that there's only one person of color there representing me, I feel that there should be more, but just sharing a thought, that hopefully it all becomes part of public record, how they voted, why they voted. Like Mr. Massarella, he has District 2. Even though he has a part that says Uniondale, when you Google what Mr. Massarella represents, it doesn't say Uniondale, especially on that side of town going eastward. Just sharing a thought. So my whole thing is that hopefully when you do make the decision, everything becomes part of public record. So when we go to vote in November, we can see who's really for all of us, or just a select few in certain areas and zip codes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Jacobs. Ms. Maraday? No? Okay. Daniel Craciolo? Afternoon. Give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Dan Carciolo, 8 Williamson Street, East Rockaway. My pronouns are he, him. I have a couple questions regarding, actually, I wanted to make a comment about, I know it's not the calendar for it, but the gentleman, the folks that were here regarding the Uniondale proposal for the gas station, they had stated that they would have 3 full-time employees, 24 hours a day. That's 56 hours a day, a week rather. I just wanted the town board or Mr. Supervisor Clayton to acknowledge that those parking didn't add up to me. That was kind of just a statement there. If you're going to have 3 people working 56 hours a week and just one person, didn't make much sense. But I wanted to kind of put something into perspective too. When we're thinking about everything that's going on in the town, I very rarely see a bird's eye approach and kind of a holistic kind of plan as it relates to everything that's going on in the town. When I ran for school board in East Rockaway, one of the things I proposed was a 2050 plan. And that's something that I think the town should take into consideration and start to plan exactly what our town will look like in 2050. And start to make adjustments based on our codes, based on our the things that are changing, and really kind of take a hard look at what we all want to look like in this town in the next 20, 30, 40 years. The reason why that's important, as we think about sustainability and we think about development, we think about housing, we think about having a casino on top of basically where all of our colleges are, and yet we're opposing housing based on the state's kind of newest guidelines. We opposed ADUs from last year to help people supplement their taxes that we do pay in this great community of ours. There isn't a plan, and there isn't a holistic approach to exactly how the town wants to look. I would urge the town to start to create more planning as it relates to forward thinking, as it relates to the way things are going to be in 2050 and beyond. Because if we still just manage the day-to-day, the 6 months, the moratoriums, we push things off, we're not going to grow as a town, and we're going to, despite the fact that we're growing, as the IT commissioner indicated, we're growing population, we're growing people here working for the town, we really need to look holistically and kind of understand what we're up against over the next 35, 40, 50 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe you're not aware of it. Actually, this year alone, we've approached, and today I think Councilman Carini acknowledged we actually approved workforce housing in Baldwin, and we approved about 221 units of housing in Baldwin. So I don't want you thinking that, I'm sure you mistakenly said we opposed housing. And the other thing is, perhaps you weren't aware that last year the town unified in coming out with the 2045 initiative for energy and workforce vehicles going for the alternative green energy. I'm sure it was an oversight, so I'm glad to fill you up on that. Next, I have Mrs. Priester? Hi, Mrs. Priester. Good afternoon. If you could just give your name and address when you get up there.
Good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Priester, Uniondale, and I'm directing this comment directly at the town supervisor, Mr. Don Clavin. I happen to be looking at my computer meeting that you had on the 10th of January, and my son-in-law, James Jacobs, he was addressing you, and he's a very polite young man. I've known him for 46 years. Now, he addressed something to you. You're looking at different papers and things, and then he said, oh, nobody's listening to me, but somebody there should have prompted themselves to listen to him. It's due respect to the community. Another remark you made about you pay taxes, we all pay taxes. I've been working for 68 years, since I was 16 years old. I just retired in June of 22. Now, we all pay taxes, and we all pay taxes for respect, and you pay taxes, but we also pay taxes for everybody that's sitting up there and everybody in this audience. And I thank you, and have a good day.
Thanks, Ms. Priester. Thanks for coming. You have a great one, too. Next, I got Chris Jacobs. Good afternoon. If you just give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yes, Chris Jacobs, Uniondale, New York. I spoke very early on item 11, so I didn't get a chance to hear a lot of what was said after I spoke, but I just want to clarify a couple of things. I heard the town attorney say, well, they separated District 1 and 2 based on 3 electoral districts, and basically I surmise that those housing complexes they built north of Hempstead Turnpike, like Avalon Bay and Meadowbrook Point, and those people there, I see it's pandering because of the fact that they were told they lived in Garden City, they were told you're a Garden City resident, when actually they were shamed because they had to be incorporated with the Uniondale School District. Now I know because when I go to vote and they come there, they roll their eyes and look at me like, I can't believe I have to do this, but that's not my problem, that's their problem. But I'm saying that the way the map is drawn is that the fact that it shouldn't be separated based on their needs and wants and pandering to them. They chose to live there, but it comes with it. It's Uniondale anyway. They should have known that. Garden City's way over there. It says, welcome to Garden City, the village way down, like 2 miles away. So that's not my fault that they were told they lived in Garden City and everything like that, but they're zoned and everything for Uniondale. So the map shouldn't be separated based on what's in it for them. Another troubling thing I heard is that when Councilwoman Goolsbee was asked how she felt about the map, which is blatantly, in my opinion and many other opinions, blatantly a racist map, and it shows a lot of disparity and segregation on it, she had no comment. And that's trouble because of all times to say that it's Black History Month. And I know she goes around, she sends out mails, she talks about how she's an icon for civil rights. That's before my time because I haven't seen her do much since I've been involved with the school and stuff like that. But it's Black History Month, and I think she should speak up and have an opinion on that, but that's okay. But happy Black History Month to you, Councilwoman Goolsbee.
Thanks, Mr. Jacobs. We're going to take a 10-minute recess if everybody doesn't mind. So we'll start up at 1:45.